Report Painter Reporting. I'm going to show you how to create a user-defined report for use with the summarization hierarchy. Here we are in SAP, and you can do this one of two ways. In order to get to Report Painter, you can either put in type GRR1, Create Report Writer, or follow the menu path. And the menu path is relatively easy. Under the SAP menu, all the way down to Information Systems, Ad Hoc Reports, Report Painter, Report. Now, when you see this, one of the things you realize, in this menu path itself, here's the query we did earlier. I used a different menu path to get to this when I did those lessons. The reason is, if you look at ad hoc reports under these subdirectories, I see SQO1, create the query. I do not see SQO2, info set, or SQO3, create user groups. So in the previous lessons, I chose a different path to show you all the options. But in this case, if all you wanted to do was go directly to running a query, you could have just done it right under ad hoc reports. Under ad hoc reports, we see Report Painter. Now, seeing Report Painter right under this tends to be just a little misdirectional. Even though you see Report Painter, when you open it up, Report Writer sits underneath it. Report Painter, here are the underneath Report are all the Report Painter codes. But under Report Painter sits the Report Writer. Anyone who's dealt with Report Painter and Report Writer knows that Report Writer is much more complex to design than a Report Painter report. Fortunately, to do summarization, Report Painter works just fine. So we're going to go to GRR1, which is Create. When I open it up, the most important thing is knowing the library. Whenever you create an SAP report, there are so many tables and so many libraries. It can take you more time finding the correct library than it does just creating the report. If you've previously created reports for cost object hierarchy, you almost recognize this. This library for summarization is 7KV. For the cost object hierarchy, it was 7KT. I'm going to call the report KCO1, which is my plant. I'm going to call Plant Report. Now I'm going to hit Create. And once I come into this, first thing it's going to do is to give me the individual sections. I'm going to come to row 1. And in row 1, you now see there's the summarization object. So I'm going to put a summarization object here, and I'm going to put in a cost element. I'm going to bring this over, so summarization and cost element. This will be a pretty basic report. So what I'm going to do for cost element is I'm going to come here, I'm going to drill down. So when I search, I'm going to come in Chart of Accounts. I'm going to pick mine, which is this one. I'm going to execute. And you can see I have a pretty basic Chart of Accounts. The first thing I want to do is Control Y. I'm going to take my first 3, close this out. I want to put this under cost elements. Now, in order to do this and have multiple cost elements, what I need to do, you can't add cost element 3 times. You go to the one cost element and you hit More. It's going to add a second line. To add a third, I go to the second line to add a third. Now all I have to do is come here and paste. So now in this one, I'm going to record my labor, 502, 505, 515. Here is where you have to get tricky. I have to go back into Excel and I have to find what I did previously. Here's my Excel based on summarization nodes. I'm going to call up my Excel based on summarization nodes, and I need to know what I want to report on. Well, in this case, I only want to report on the division that says cakes. So I want this object number. So I'm going to copy this object number. And this is where I said this is going to be a pretty basic report. Come back to summarization. I'm going to paste that in there. And now it's put the summarization node in there. So this is going to report labor based on only the summarization node that falls under cakes. I'm going to come over to change short name. I want this to say labor. Labor. I'm going to copy short text. It's going to give me labor. Let's confirm. Now I'm going to confirm here, and I get my first line called labor. Second one, you'll get characteristics or formulas. I'm going to use characteristics. I don't want a subtotal. Now, as I said, we're going to create a pretty basic one here. And we're going to create multiple lines. We want the same summarization node. I'm going to be in the same area. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to pick some more accounts to choose from. For this one, let's pick raw materials, which are going to be my raw materials. Control Y. Come all the way down. Control C. Control V. Now call this raw materials. Copy short text. Fill it out. And confirm. Confirm there. Now we're going to confirm there. Now we are going to go to the next one. And let's put packaging. Once again, I'm going to add multiple lines. I'm going to use the same hierarchy node. I'm going to search again. And I'm going to take my packaging. Now you can see I have multiple Control C, multiple accounts I'm choosing from. Now I'm not going to create lines for every single one of these. I'm going to hit V. Once again, description. I'm going to fill out as much as the first line will let me. Package, copy short text, packaging, packaging. Now, I could have started at the bottom and hit packaging and worked my way up. It is easier to fill out the short and then copy the short text down. I'm going to confirm, confirm again, and now I have labor, raw materials, packaging, and my last row, I'm going to use my last row, and I'm going to make this fuel. All I have to do is come up here, hit the back button. There's my node again. My cost element, I believe there's only one. Well, you know, let's try pallets instead. Just to throw it up a little. I could have done fuel. I could create another line for fuel, operating supplies, electricity. Let's do pallets. And now we're going to go back to here. I'm going to put pallets. And remember, these are just based on my account and how I want to report. pallets. Confirm. Going to confirm. So I have an area. I'm going to come here in my lead column, and I'm going to call this my main company, Kenco Bakery. Copy short text, bakery, bakery, confirm. I'm going to come to the first one. I'm going to add a line. I want to add a blank line. Insert element. I'm going to make it a formula. I want this to be a description. I'm just going to go to any of these lines, and I'm going to say multiply the first line by 0. And when I hit that, it's going to come back and say, what would you like to call it? I'm going to name my division. This division is cakes. Confirm. Now, what it's done is it's put the word cakes above my cost element groups. I'm then going to come down to here, make another formula, confirm it, and I want to add labor to raw materials, to packaging, to pallets. Hit OK. What do I want it to be? I want this to say total cakes. Copy short text. Let's put the word division. Confirm. So what I've done now is I've actually created a report painter report, and the first section is going to be based on the cakes division. The total is going to be the bakery. First section is going to be cakes. What I would do now is I would come down here and repeat what I just did and add labor, raw materials, packaging, and pallets. But the second section I'm going to do would have to have a different summarization node. You noticed, however, that when I did this, when you run costing for the month, it's going to pull every production order that you've created when you run this since the last time you ran month-end close. Since I've only created one production order, it could only create one node for the order under cakes, and one node for cakes, and then one node for the company with the plant. In month 2, if I have 2 more production orders, one for pies and one for breads, all this is going to do is it's going to leave me 2509 under the plant. It's going to add, and I'm just going to give you an example. What you would see then is you would see this. Since 11 is the next number, this would say 11. This would say 12. You'd have the exact same descriptions here. The only difference is now this would say, instead of cakes, it would create one called pies, and it would create another one called bread, because those are my other 2 overhead groups. SAP hasn't created these yet because I haven't created a production order and summed it under any of the overhead keys. If I had, I would take the pies, 2511, and when I went back into SAP, I would use the next one to create another division. I would copy exactly what I did, only create the other node. The only thing I have to make sure I do now is to go up in the General Data Selection. And when I go to the General Data Selection, one of the things you have to have is the CO area. So let's bring that over. And in my case, for my example, my CO area, KC01. That is my CO area. The next thing I have to do is I have to bring target cost version in, and I always use target cost version 0. I don't have multiple versions. If you did, you could create different targets based on multiple versions. The only thing I need now is fiscal year and period. So I'm going to bring fiscal year and period in. Under period, it's going to be a variable, and I am going to drill down on variables, and I want one that says period. This is entirely dependent upon your system. So in this case, I only want fiscal year and period. Fiscal year already appeared, and I created the variant. So now we're going to hit check, make sure they're available, hit confirm. We've now created this report. General data selections have been created. Next thing I'm going to do now, okay, we're going to create a column, and we are going to do it based on key figures with characteristics. We're going to hit confirm. Now for this column, what I want is I want an actual cost first. So we're going to pick total cost. We need value type, and we need 2 of them. So I'm going to bring value type. Let's drill down. These are going to be the actuals, so I want this to be actual 4. And I want this to be statistical actual. Bring in that. So now I have my actuals. We are going to check it, confirm it. Total cost. Now I'm going to change this to be actual cost. Now I need one to give me the targets. So again, I'm going to say confirm on key figure with characteristics. I need the 2 value types. And now, instead, for the targets, we're going to have value type targets. So let's pick that, which is number 5, target, and confirm. Now the one thing we have to do is I'm going back in the general data selection header, and where we have plan version, we are going to remove plan version. Under the header itself, we could leave plan version, but I'm going to delete this and put target version instead. The target cost version is going to be 0. Check, confirm, go back into my column. Now here's plan version. We are going to put plan version in. The column as 0, confirm, total cost, plan version. We're going to bring that in as 0, confirm. Now, the third column you can do anything you want with. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give a difference between actual and target cost. So we're going to drill down on it so I can show you this. We're going to go into formula, and we're going to simply say take actual cost minus target cost. And I'm going to call this variance. Copy the short text, variance. So I have a pretty simple report here that you can add on to. I only created one area, cakes, for my plant, Kenco Bakery. I could have also had my controlling area here with different plants, with different divisions under the plants, with different cost under the different divisions under the plants. But once you get those summarization hierarchy nodes, the sky's the limit from that point on. So we're going to save this. Now, for the For those of you who have never done Report Painter, in order to get this to actually run in GR55, I'm going to have to create a report group. I'm going to have to create one. I don't think there's any here. And I want these to be my targets, so I'm just going to call it ZT. It's a user defined one. So ZTBA, just saying that's the bakery. Once again, 7KV. Hit enter. This is the report group. Call it something. Let's call targets for bakery. The important part now is you go up into reports, you pick the report you want. There should only be one. There it is, KC01, plant report. Create here. Now I'm going to save it. I'm going to exit it. And just to show you, now since I only had one production order and I don't have a lot of data here, I am going to show you the GR55. However, we probably won't have a lot of data sitting in here to do. So let's go ahead and execute it. We've built the report, and I'll show you what the report looks like. But for now, because we only had one production order was only designed to create the node, we probably aren't going to have a lot. And we want it for period 11. And let's execute it. I highly suspect it's going to be blank. Report contains no document. I don't really have any data in here. So at this point, you've learned how to create the report, how to create the sections.